This podcast is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. You chose to hit play on this podcast today. Smart choice. Make another smart choice with Auto Quote Explorer to compare rates from multiple car insurance companies all at once. Try it at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy.
The 7-seat Volvo EX90 is a car made for finding tranquility in midtown traffic, with a serene Scandinavian interior. Made to help avoid potential hazards along city streets, thanks to advanced safety features. And with intuitive technology and Google built in, it's the car made for finding the best bagel in Brooklyn. The fully electric Volvo EX90 is perfect for New York. Visit volvocars.com/US to learn more. Google is a trademark of Google LLC.
Candice Lim.
And I'm Kate Lindsay. And you're listening to ICYMI.
In case you missed it.
Slate's podcast about internet culture. And Candice, I don't think you nor I are marked safe from the plague that is Jubilee.
No.
No, I mean, they are at every other TikTok on my For You page. When I was on Twitter, the videos were being shared around. It is like it is the new Upworthy,
the new Dodo,
the new monoculture internet rage bait. It's everywhere. But these past few weeks, Jubilee has been going viral, like crazy viral, even by Jubilee standards, for a video that they posted on July 20th. And that video is titled, 1 Progressive versus 20 Far-Right Conservatives, in parentheses, featuring Mehdi Hasan. That video has had 10 million views in 2 weeks. And like for context, they have videos in their most popular that have been up for months that have about the same amount. And so it's popping off. And not only is the video crazy, but sort of the ripple effect it's had is also wild. So one of these 20 far-right conservatives is a 24-year-old named Connor Estelle. He actually lost his job from some of the heinous things that he said in the video, and then immediately managed to turn it into a crowdfunding campaign that, at the time of recording, has $39,000. Candice, did you watch this video? Watched is like, yeah, that's too passive a word for what it did to my body.
This has literally been probably the hardest video for me to avoid all year. I personally, I don't like watching Jubilee videos. Yeah. I feel like that's the type of stuff that a very specific person would fall into on Facebook. And yet, I was trying to, engage, understand the people. I kid you not, I click on the video and I tried to listen to it at like 2 times speed, and it actually got worse. It actually felt worse on 2 times speed. Maybe because it's like hate speech at 2 times. It doesn't sound as good as at 1 time. But this, I feel like it's an avalanche. It's an avalanche of like a Jubilee video will come for all of us. The question is which one,
Yeah, and this one was pretty unescapable. I mean, I think I started seeing it on TikTok, but then I started seeing think pieces about it and articles about it. I started seeing follow-up podcasts. I mean, it has really, really resonated, and not necessarily in a good way.
Right.
And at first glance, this episode is no different than any of Jubilee's other content. I mean, they're often doing videos where they have 2 kind of polar opposites face off against each other. They often do political content. But as Slate staff writer Ayman Ismail writes, this video feels different.
Yes, and I think Ayman is right. I think this moment and this video really marks a shift, not even for Mehdi Hasan, but for Jubilee, and truly like questioning what is their purpose? Because the fact that this was a big hit, they're going to do more. They're going to do more. They're going to ask more people. I'm really scared of getting the email, by the way. I'm scared of Ayman getting the email, by the way.
They're coming for you.
They're going to ask any one of us to be like, hey, do you want to come to this nondescript warehouse and just like fight a bunch of people? And first of all, that's too much prep. That's too much prep for me. I don't want to pay for the Uber, But like, I just think this video was so telling of Jubilee's audience and the audience they could get.
Yeah.
And I think to them, they're like, success.
Right, because Jubilee says they want to build bridges between people who disagree. Like, that is ostensibly the point of these types of setups, is to find some sort of common ground. But I don't know. I would say this most recent video is more about content than it is connection. When we come back, Eamon joins us to discuss whether Jubilee is helping or hurting. Hey there! If you enjoy our show, be sure to become a Slate Plus member. Not only will you listen to our show and all Slate podcasts ad-free, you'll get exclusive bonus episodes. So, for instance, today, you'll hear Candice talk to me all about the Las Culturistas Culture Awards, which happened earlier this week. So if you already support us, thank you. That episode is already waiting for you to listen to in your feed. And if you're not a Slate Plus member yet, click Try Free at the top of our show page or visit slate.com/ICYMI plus.
This podcast is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Fiscally responsible, financial geniuses, monetary magicians. These are things people say about drivers who switch their car insurance to Progressive and save hundreds. Because Progressive offers discounts for paying in full, owning a home, and more. Plus, you can count on their great customer service to help you when you need it, so your dollar goes a long way. Visit Progressive.com to see if you could save on car insurance. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states and situations.
This message is sponsored by Greenlight. With school out, summer is the perfect time to teach our kids real-world money skills they'll use forever. Greenlight is a debit card and the #1 family finance and safety app used by millions of families, helping kids learn how to save, invest, and spend wisely. Parents can send their kids money and track their spending and saving, while kids build money confidence and skills in fun ways. Start your risk-free Greenlight trial today at greenlight.com/Spotify. That's greenlight.com/Spotify.
And we're back. And joining us on the show, I think for the first time, is one of our favorite people here at Slate. He is a staff writer, and he is Eamon Ismail. Hello, Eamon.
Hi, everybody. I hope this doesn't suck. Should be fun.
Oh my God, no, it won't.
You do Q&As with Rami Youssef. Like, what? Like, you're fine. You're fine.
That's my credentials for today.
Yeah.
He talked to Rami.
Well, because it is your first time on ICYMI, we have to ask you the quintessential ICYMI question, which is, as far back as your memory can go, what would you say is your first internet memory?
Ooh, okay. So is this my first internet memory period or the first time I'm using the internet?
Wow.
I kind of grew up with the internet. So we had like a computer that I wasn't allowed to use for a while.
I mean, I guess... What was, like, if you, like, do you remember the first time you typed, like, www dot and what came after it?
Pokemon.com.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
I feel like it's typical. I was playing Pokemon Yellow, I think, was the one that I had, the one where, like, Pikachu's walking behind you. And I got impatient. I really wanted to evolve my Pokemon, and I didn't know, like, which levels they evolved at. And so I was looking for some answers, and I got them.
Did you get, like... Were you searching, like, walkthroughs or, like, was this pre stuff like that? Like, were you getting tips on how to beat certain levels?
Yeah, so my brothers would do that. My brother, So I have 2 older brothers, and we had, like, a family computer that was in the living room, and I never got a chance to sit on it because I have 2 older brothers. Right.
Right. I was the older sister of a similar dynamic, and that was my computer as far as I was concerned.
Yeah, exactly. To the point where they put passwords on it so that I couldn't, like, even, try. Great brothers, though. I love them to death sometimes. So, yeah, I remember my first opportunity to ever, like, use the computer. I wanted to, like, skip ahead because I was getting frustrated with my Game Boy, and I wanted to get to, I wanted to know, like, what level my Pidgey would evolve at. And so, yeah, I think that's specifically the very first time that I used the internet. And then pretty soon afterwards, I got like my own America Online account. I had an AIM screen name that I would
Which
talk to my
was?
friends on. It was I'm Screwed for Life 10. Very
Wow.
emo.
Interesting.
And
Very
by the
emo.
way,
Wow.
not true. Interesting.
Yeah.
Angsty.
It was I was very angsty. I had older brothers. And
Yeah.
I was angsty. And I cared a lot about Pokemon.
It took me a while before I realized that you could look up like how to beat games. And the first game I ever did that for was the Wallace and Gromit PlayStation game.
Whoa.
I was
cute.
stuck on a level. I'm sure
Iconic.
that's many people's experience, the Wallace and Gromit game really stumping them. But yeah, it's been revolutionary.
Did you beat it? Did you win?
I don't know if I got to the end, but I now have, after a long hiatus, my husband and I have a PS5, and I am open to games. And so a part of me is like, should I get back on that Wallace and Gromit? It is meant for 12-year-olds,
Yeah.
but I have a feeling I will still need a walkthrough.
Because like games back in the days were way less forgiving. Like if you
Yeah.
lost a life, you would start all the way in the beginning.
Yeah.
Like did you ever play The Lion King, the video game?
Oh my God, no, but that sounds great.
Low key, one of the hardest games you could ever play. Like you can get really, really far, close to the end, and then you miss a button, and then you got to start all the way with like that giraffe level, where you're
No,
like
yeah,
jumping
I
on
was
the heads
like-
of the giraffes.
It's like a Dance Dance Revolution Sun, Wallace and Gromit Moon, Ape Escape Rising in terms of the games I played on PlayStation.
That's gangster. I hoped you stretched before you started.
Oh, I'm sure I didn't, and I'm sure that's responsible for a lot of problems I have today.
Mm-hmm.
But I do wish this was going to be the entirety of our conversation because it
know.
certainly is a lot more fun. But we are actually here to talk about a video that I could not skip through even though I wanted to, which is
too.
the now viral, last time I checked, had 10 million views, Jubilee video. Jubilee is a media company on YouTube in which political commentator Mehdi Hassan faces off against 20 far-right conservatives. And this video made waves for a number of reasons, and we're going to get into all of it. But for those who haven't seen a Jubilee video before, Eamon, why don't you kind of describe the kind of content that Jubilee makes?
Sure, happy to. So Jubilee is like a YouTube media company. What they do is they try to they have like a game show format where they have sides and they try and architect all of these viral clips. And a lot of times what they end up doing is they have like teen moms. Do you think that all teen moms are the same? Or sibling dating? Or can you tell which one of these 7 guys are gay? You know, it's like sometimes it's fun, sometimes it's crazy. And in this one video with Mehdi Hassan, they just surrounded him with 20 far-right Republicans, which, you know, it's like a recipe for what would happen if. It all feels like a social experiment mixed with public debate.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's one of their newer formats, which is called Surrounded, and they started that in 2024. They have 2 other ones that people might have come across. There's one called Middle Ground, and that was kind of one of their first ones, launched in 2017, and then Spectrum, which was launched in 2019. But a lot of it is a similar idea of people who fundamentally disagree having conversations, maybe finding some commonalities. At least that's the stated goal, but I don't know if that is always how it's come across.
It's really all about how they clash.
Yeah,
I think,
yeah.
Yeah.
and how they argue.
Which is kind of ironic because I actually remember Jubilee 15 years ago when they started, and it was kind of this, like, I got to be honest, it was giving Coney 2012. It was like nonprofit platform, usually for Asian American stories. They were trying to raise money for all of these charities. And at some point, I really felt like they were giving like guy who just came back from like Ugandan Christian mission. And so to me, just not engaging, to be honest, I think nowadays still would not have been engaging. But then in like 2017, they start posting things like Both Sides. And it's kind of where like couples wear headphones and they tell the story of how they got together. And then like I really noticed a huge shift when Trump got elected because yes, they were still doing like New York Times Modern Love 36 questions. And then they would pepper in stuff like, hey, can Trump supporters and immigrants get along? And that's when things started really ramping up. Eamon, like, how did you first come across Jubilee? Do you remember the first videos you watched?
I don't think I was there at the very beginning. I think I came onto the scene maybe about a year ago, maybe a little longer, there was this one video that really caught my interest. So the video was called "Can Israelis and Palestinians See Eye to Eye?" And this is one of those middle ground episodes that you were just mentioning. And I kind of really liked the premise a lot. Like, what happens when we take these two sides that feel like they're like they could never be put in the same place? You don't often see them expressed in the same space. And what happens if they talk to each other directly? And, I'm like a huge fan of seeing what happens when people with different opinions get together and have a discussion. I think those are like the most interesting discussions. And it was like a 30-minute video, and I watched all of it, and I really, really liked it. Like, I kind of saw the value in watching these kinds of videos play out when I would just watch all of them afterwards. I just went on like this spree and watched as many as I could.
Did you feel they found like middle ground in that specific conversation between Israelis and Palestinians?
No, I don't think that they themselves found a middle ground.
But someone watching might have.
But somebody watching, I think, would really benefit from seeing like how they're having like different conversations. And then sometimes we're trying to figure out how do we get these people to talk together. But I think before that, we need to figure out what each of them are feeling and saying. And I think once we get there, we can actually have a conversation. I think they did.
Yeah. I'm not like, because I'll just admit first off that like I am really turned off by the idea of Jubilee. I've seen some of the stuff because you can't not. And I'll say for me, it's like I realize I'm a little bit of like a cat in this regard, where it has to be a cat's idea to do something or whatever. And like, cats don't like it when you're going like pss, pss, and like dangling treats and trying to get them to do something. Like they have to decide themselves. When I see the way that like a Jubilee thumbnail is constructed, the title, the clips they choose to put on TikTok, I feel like that's Jubilee going to me, a human, like, pss, 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 pss. Here, come get this slop, like, come have it. Like trying to lure me in using like very, very base instinct type stuff. But their mission isn't that. Like the stated mission is they want people to find a middle ground. They want to decrease polarization. They want to encourage discussions. I guess, the video you mentioned, it was from a little bit ago. Do we think that's like, I can see with that video how that was sort of the goal at the forefront of making it.
Yeah.
It feels to me like the setups have gotten more polarized, a little bit more ludicrous,
more controversial.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, do we think Jubilee has changed, or has it kind of been consistent, but people are just kind of tuning in now?
I think it's more so that the audience is changing. I think when Jubilee came out into the scene, they were among the only people doing that. And now it's just taken over the culture of content creation. You know what I'm trying to say? So I think in order for them to survive as a business, it would make sense that they would try and carve a new space for themselves constantly as a way to grow. And it just feels like they just got better and better and better at their project, which is just to see if they could pique your interest and get you to watch what like this social experiment play out in real time.
Yeah.
And I think it works. I mean, it's fun. It's interesting. It's really inexpensive. And you might get like 1,000, maybe not 1,000, but like 50 clips out of it that you can then repackage and post to social media on TikTok and whatever. And I feel like that's the primary way that people actually consume this stuff. But at the same time, like so many copycats have come onto the scene. And so it seems inevitable that something like Jubilee might have to go kind of hardcore to keep people's attention.
Yeah.
Also, so Eamon, you're here because you wrote like a really great piece specifically about the Mehdi Hasan video. Something you mentioned very briefly that I just wanted to see if you were to say on. You kind of like shaded Jubilee for having like pretty low production quality, where it's like badly lit. It's giving like downtown warehouse, but used to definitely be a slaughterhouse. Can I ask, like, what is your issue with like the lighting of it all?
It's too nice. It's too nice. I think the production value is way too high for something like this. Like they don't need to have like this gigantic warehouse to do it when they could just get like a nice white cyc, which I think they do for a lot of other videos. But, I have a background in filmmaking. I've been on a bunch of sets. I know how much work and how many people it takes to put on a production like that. And I think if you were going to if the premise is like we're gonna put 6 people together and you're gonna figure out which one is the hottest or which based on how they feel about themselves. You can do that in an alleyway. You can do that you can do that in an office. You can do that in a break room. To spend that much time and effort to make it perfect feels like overkill in my opinion.
Something else you're pointing out, it does look like they're in a warehouse, and it does give the vibe of like you're watching this and it's like, wait, can they leave? Are they allowed to leave? Like, is there an exit? Like,
I mean, no offense, but like, I don't know who I'm offending.
Me, I'm offended.
I think you're right, Eamon, that there is something very grabby, and there's a reason why people click on these videos, and it's because the thumbnail with just like the huge words where it'll just be like racist, like it really catches your eye, and you want to click on it. And there is, I mean, I just gotta say, we don't do Stanford prison experiments that good anymore. I think that's what we're really missing. But I would say
no, that's coming for Jubilee for sure.
Right. But I think what I've been thinking about, especially in thinking about the progression of Jubilee, like I agree with you, Kate. The way they started being very kind of like, let's unify, let's have that conversation. I feel like they've really taken a huge turn. And a lot of their eras, to me, are pretty mapped onto who is the president at the time. Because, for example, in the first Trump administration, I think Jubilee was at least willing to kind of subtly state, like, what they did kind of believe in, but they're still putting Jordan Peterson in a room with like 20 liberals. And then Joe Biden became president, and I noticed that they really pulled back on like the hard, controversial political stuff. They were doing stuff like, who's the real yoga instructor? And like 6, I kid you not, they did a video called 6 theater kids versus 1 fake. And I'm like, yeah, this is definitely Joe Biden content. Thank you so much. And now, I mean, look, they did this middle ground video where it's like even on both sides of like 30 and 30, for example. And it's people debating Trump versus Harris. This is September 2024. And a month later, they did 1 Republican versus 20 Harris voters. And that 1 Republican was Ben Shapiro. And so I just feel like that really maps the shift of them kind of acknowledging of like, I think we can't play both sides anymore. I think we almost kind of have to rage bait both sides. And unfortunately it works because, look, this Trump-Harris video where it's like equal on both sides, 4.8 million views. Ben Shapiro, 15 million.
Yeah, and that specific run of videos was like leading up to the 2024 election. And there was like one name that kind of got really popular from these videos, and that's a creator called Dean Withers. He is a blonde guy. You'll see him in a lot of those videos because his sort of very articulate way of like shutting down the haters, one would say.
Yeah, he's sharp.
Was really satisfying to hear.
Saying that women have to sleep with men to get into positions of power is a misogynistic lie. What you
I
are
didn't say
doing,
that. She just
one
did
moment,
that.
one moment.
That's what she represents.
What you are
That's all I'm
doing,
saying, guys.
what you are doing is you are taking Kamala Harris, you are taking her character, you are taking her proposed policy, you are taking her intelligence, and you're taking her wisdom, and you're throwing it out of the window. Because when you say that the
You did the
only
same thing
reason
with
she's
Trump.
in her position of power today is because she slept with a man that had been legally divorced for 3 years is a
I
lie.
didn't.
She got
She slept with him
4.5
while
million
he was
votes to get
married.
into AG and DA and slept with 0 of them.
But I feel like, he had his moment, election happens, we're all dealing with that in our own ways. And I wouldn't say Jubilee really popped off again until this Mehdi Hassan video. Like for you, Eamon, what was the significance of tuning into this episode specifically?
It's a few different things. I'll start by saying that I strongly identify with Mehdi Hassan because we're both, he's an immigrant. I'm a child of immigrants. I'm Muslim. When people say like mean things about him on the internet, it's usually the same people who say mean things about me. And I feel like when we're having the discussion about like, are immigrants allowed to feel American? These are questions that I've needed to answer for my entire lived experience living here in America, right? Going all the way back to 9/11 and even before. I've always had to reckon with like these kinds of arguments and try to figure out how to stand up for myself. And somebody like Mehdi Hassan is, I've come to think of him as something of a warrior in this space, just by the way that he's been really successful in kind of tearing apart these bad faith arguments and making them seem like he'll kind of like come to your terms and then say, okay, well, here's how your logic doesn't work. And for somebody like me, this is useful. Like I want to learn how to do this myself.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm also really like I'm on the internet a lot. Like I love watching these kinds of YouTube videos and I love watching these social experiment style stuff happen. But So I was really excited when that one came out because I was like, yo, Mehdi Hasan is going to kill it. He's going to destroy these people. They don't even – it's 20 against 1, but it's a mismatch, you know. And so when I watched it, it became apparent really right away how different this was going to feel than the rest of the videos that I've seen. It's one thing to have somebody like Sam Cedar, who's I would put in the same category of progressive with Mehdi Hasan, but it's something different entirely to have Mehdi Hasan himself being a brown person who speaks with an accent, put in a circle of people who are going to be arguing that people like him don't deserve to call themselves American or in fact should be deported. You know, or subject to state violence. I think that's really different. You know, one of our colleagues, Nadir Agaf, when we were talking about it, she called it musical chairs for verbal assault. And after she said that, I was like, oh my God, that's exactly what we just saw.
Yeah. And I think let's just get into the video because first off, I just have to note, I did not know this video was an hour and 40 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
There are movies in theaters today that are less than that. Just putting that out there. Anyway, so this is a video of Mehdi Hasan. He sits
in the warehouse.
In the warehouse, right?
Yeah.
Nondescript location.
Right. And he's and there's just 2 chairs in the middle. He sits in one of them, and there's a circle of 20, we're going to probably assume right-leaning people surrounding him. Eamon, is this correct? They submit themselves for this? They
Yeah.
They're not scouted, they're found. Or they submit themselves?
I think there's a combination of both because you see a lot of the same people repeat.
Yeah.
So in the Sam Cedar episode, which I think came out 2 months before Mehdi Hasan's came out, I think 3 of them ended up being cast for the Mehdi Hasan video as well. And so some of these people are repeat customers when they come to get thrashed.
So I have 2 things to say about the Jubilee casting. One is I watched an interview of the CEO of Jubilee with Taylor Lorenz on her podcast Power User, and he kind of explains how they source these people. And for the most part, I'm sure they're scouting. People submit themselves not for individual videos at this point, but just to be on Jubilee. And they kind of submit lots of identifying information about themselves. This is my political party, this is my race, gender. Then they're kind of plucked for these things.
Interesting.
The second thing is in the Mehdi Hasan video specifically, and this is just if you need something to lighten your spirits as you're trudging your way through this, there is a man in a hat who cannot for the life of him get to the chair before everyone else. Because how it works is Mehdi Hasan is in the middle. People who want to debate him on different topics get up and run towards the chair. The first person to touch the chair gets to sit down in the chair and debate until everyone raises red flags to vote them out, until they get a majority of red flags.
Tagging them out, basically, kind of.
Yeah, basically being a new person in. And there really is an advantage towards the people who are closer to the chair because this poor guy.
Yeah.
I guess I'm not going to say poor guy because we know why he's there and what he stands for, but it doesn't help the hat he's wearing. He is desperately trying to get to that chair and cannot get to it every single time. And every single time you just see this large brimmed hat go back, go back to the chair, and so go back to his seat. So that's just something funny to do while you process the horrors of the video because, like you said, Eamon, you were excited to see this. You were excited to see Mehdi kind of face off and ultimately intellectually dominate these men. But the video kind of turned for you.
Yeah.
Would you maybe want to share, when did you realize the video was not going to be what you expected it to be?
Right away. So Mehdi Hasan, I think he's somebody who really loves to debate. He loves to hash out these ideas. I first learned about Mehdi Hasan watching him debate at the Oxford Union, where they took on the question of is Islam a violent religion? Which, as a Muslim person, you're holy, come on.
Right.
But Mehdi Hasan does a really good job of, presenting the Muslim side of things. So I was really excited to see him take this on. But it wasn't that. It wasn't that right. It wasn't like he was sitting down and taking these arguments and people were debating in good faith. It was the exact opposite of it. People were just kind of running to get to the chair like you're describing, just to say things like, you shouldn't be allowed to be in this country.
Right. Immediately being where are you from?
Yeah.
Where are your parents from?
That did happen, yeah.
And also saying things like you should be jailed for having, opinions that you disagree with mine. And you should not be allowed to live here. And also, brown Americans don't count as Americans. And at one point, one guy tells him, you should just get the hell out. Like, where's the argument? That's not an argument.
Right.
That's just verbal assault, you know? So, yeah, that's not at all like any of the debates I've seen Mehdi Hasan do. He's the kind of person that they'll bring onto CNN and he'll like talk 1,000 miles an hour, and he will present the case, present the view, and present the reasons for why the opposing viewpoint is wrong. You can't do that in that kind of situation. All you can do is just sit there and be like, well, that's racist. And at one point, there's this guy named Connor who's wearing like this button up. He's got like a shaved face. He's like kind of grinny. He's like having the time of his life. And at one point, Mehdi Hasan is like, well, I think you're a little bit more right wing than just like far right. And he's like, yeah, well, what can you say? He's like, well, you could say that you're a fascist. And he's like, yeah, I am a fascist. It's like, what? That's not an argument.
And people laugh. He seems so happy to admit this, like on camera, as if he was waiting for this moment his whole life.
And you can see it on Mehdi Hasan's face. He just sort of like looks around, and because people are clapping, people are cheering at this guy's confession that he's an actual fascist. And you could almost tell like that was the moment that Mehdi Hasan realized that this was not actually going to just be a debate. They just surrounded him with racists and people who think like people like me and Mehdi don't deserve voting rights or don't deserve to have citizenship. And that was the plan. Like, that was the social experiment. How is Mehdi Hasan going to react when people are racist to his face?
Yeah. Right. Well, because there were so many, it's with a particular group of people for whom words like racist and fascist are not insults. And so then
they're proud.
Right. And so there's kind of nothing to be done with that, especially when we think about like the stated purpose again of Jubilee, which is at one point the CEO gave the quote that they wanted to be like the Disney of empathy. That is not what we saw in that video.
What does that even mean?
Bob Iger says, shut that down.
Who's Mickey Mouse in that situation?
I know.
Wow, that's a great question even. Yeah, and so you go through this 1 hour, 40-minute video, and at the end, I don't really know why they do this, but I kind of get it. They almost do this like Vanderpump Rules confessional situation where they have Mehdi, they have some of the like, I call them contestants, which I don't know if that's the right word.
Yeah,
but
that's a good word for it.
They call it a game show. So these contestants, they do these little confessionals of like, honestly, things that like you drive home from the function and you're like, I should have said that. I should have said that. And they're like debriefing. And in your piece, Eamon, you write about this part that you said made your thrill curdle.
Yeah.
Free speech doesn't mean you need to give credibility or oxygen or a platform to people who don't agree in human equality.
I hear Mehdi's point about not giving them a platform, but the thing is, if you stop giving them a platform, they don't just go away and change their mind. And then you tell the rest of society no one exists who thinks like that, and that's not true.
I do like to debate people, even people I disagree with. I try and avoid bad faith folks. I think some of the folks today were bad faith. You know, I'm anti-conservative, right? I don't support conservative views on taxation. I don't support conservative views on immigration. But the people here today were way beyond conservatives. This is open authoritarianism.
Why did that moment really stick out to you? And like, how did it make you feel?
I mean, it should make everybody's blood curdle. Like, think of it. It's what he's saying is this is how far the pendulum has swung back. This is where we are as a country. And, you know, I think we have a lot of open conversations about, like, how do we understand the other side? Is it economic anxiety? Is it the fact that, you know, the demographics are changing and people are getting uncomfortable? Is it because people don't own their homes anymore? We try to come up with as many excuses as possible to not confront the fact that many people are getting more and more comfortable with open authoritarianism and open racism. And I think this is something that people like Mehdi Hasan talks about often, trying to say, hey, look, I deal with this racism all the time. This is what politics in America looks like after Trump.
At Sierra, discover great deals on top brand workout gear, like high-quality walking shoes, which might lead to another discovery.
40,000 steps, baby. Who's on top now, Karen?
You've taken the office step challenge a step too far. Don't worry, though. Sierra also has yoga gear. it might be a good place to find your zen. Discover top brands at unexpectedly low prices. Sierra, let's get moving.
Prime delivery is fast. How fast are we talking? We're talking puzzle toys and LickPad delivered so fast you can get this puppy under control fast. We're talking chew toys at your door without really waiting fast. Pee pads, cooling mat, and peg hammer fast and fast. And there's training TREATS faster than you can say sit fast. And now we can all relax and order these matching hoodies to get cozy and cute fast. Fast free delivery. It's on Prime.
Want to live better? We got a lot of work to do. Join Chris Hemsworth in National Geographic's new Disney Plus original series, Limitless. Live better now. I'm diving headfirst into cutting-edge science to uncover 3 powerful secrets to living better right now. The growth that occurs through any challenging experience is really what we seek. Chris Hemsworth stars in Limitless. Live better now. Now streaming on Disney Plus and Hulu. It's showtime.
I think that's the reaction I think a lot of us have when we see these kind of comments and someone just so proudly saying, like, I'm a fascist, is that, like, you hear that and then nothing happens. Like, no one's like you know, that the guy who says that reportedly lost his job, but then he was immediately able to fundraise off of it.
Oh, yeah. He made a killing off of that.
Right. It's those words don't seem to have the weight that they should, and that's why they get to say them. And a reason that I think this is happening is something you also distill it down to in your piece. You write, here's the core problem. Using a person to bait actual fascists into being cruel on camera for clicks is clearly not discourse. It's content. And I think that is a huge part of the Jubilee discussion, is that it is happening on the internet, and the internet has changed how we see. I mean, even debate itself is content on the internet. That is how so many creators get their platform. It's like, debate me. But then it has, in a way, I don't know if cheapened is the right word, but it has normalized and incentivized these kind of outlandish declarations. And I think the scariest part is that a group of people have been goaded into saying the quiet part out loud, and it kind of changes nothing for them, or there's the consequences have not manifested.
Yeah. Do you guys spend any time like reading comments on certain posts?
I try not to because
No. You just be honest.
On YouTube, sometimes I scroll just because I'm like, I feel like they're kind of nuanced, and I want to give them a little bit of a shot.
Yeah. I always read the comments.
I'm very you are what you eat, including online, and I am like, it will. The amount of times I've gotten to the end of the day and been like, why do I feel like shit? And then I can reflect back and think about all the content I consumed online and how like horrific it was. I'm like, oh, okay, that's it. So I stay away. I guess I don't derive any hope from the comments, and so I normally stay away from them. But I don't know if that's your experience, Eamon.
No, I just think it perfectly encapsulates what you're trying to say about how far we've gone in terms of like normalizing just like the most egregious racism and like people getting excited about defending the indefensible because of how much engagement and, you know, all the rewards they get for being edgelords. And yeah, in the comment sections of these Jubilee videos, which I lurk, I think it perfectly encapsulates where we are and the reason for this stuff to exist. Jubilee is a business. They're a for-profit business, which I think is not how we always think about why people make content, right? We're still in this space where the internet's trying to be fun, but it's just everything is trying to gamify your engagement because that's how they profit. And Jubilee just happens to be really, really, really good at it. And so that's why in my piece I really tried to outline the fact that like Mehdi Hasan is really good at mirroring these like far right racist arguments and exposing them for what they are, which is just I don't want brown people in front of me. And I think Jubilee is doing the same thing, just about where we are as media consumers and people who spend a lot of time on YouTube. It's just mirroring back like what we're clicking on, and it's just rewarding the audience with what the audience wants. So yeah, it's just, if this makes you uncomfortable, it's because the world has become really, really crazy.
Yeah, no, what you're saying, like, yeah, they're going off of metrics. And so these videos, these really inflammatory, polarized videos are the ones doing really well. And what's so, I think, interesting to me is, again, on that same podcast, the CEO was saying that their audience is primarily young people. But what's interesting is what he takes away from the success of these videos is that young people are interested in nuanced, complicated conversations. I don't think that's why they're watching.
Yeah, okay, buddy.
I think they're conflating the success of their channel, which banks on, really polarized, outlandish,
controversial,
egregious, entertainment.
Rage bait both sides. Yeah.
Yeah, with like the success of their mission. It's like, I guess after, Jubilee, as we know it now, started in 2017. It hasn't quite been 10 years, but we're close. I can't say I've seen a measurable difference in how we talk to each other. Not that Jubilee alone was going to fix this, but so many of their quote-unquote debate videos, they're putting one side against the other, but often one of those sides is established fact, and then the other is conspiracy. Yeah. And then they're like, okay, find some middle ground. And it's like, well, you can't find middle ground between, like, should women have rights, yes and no, without a middle ground between that is women losing some rights, which is like that doesn't exist. Or like something even more like, really, really straightforward, like, is the earth round or flat? It's round. What middle ground are we going to find? Like, it's a cylinder. Like, it's not possible, because then you're framing these really fringe ideologies as having some sort of legitimacy when they're, like, in so many cases blatantly incorrect. And it is seeding. It's I don't know. It's giving them a legitimacy that they really should not have, and I find it insulting to the side that's like a fact that they have to even pretend that there's, I don't know, somewhere they can land with this person.
But let me ask you this: do you think Jubilee is like the first or the only to do this?
No, but they're the loudest right now. Was it Tucker Carlson that did this, or
like Crossfire?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like having two opposing sides, and yeah.
But like as far as like consuming news media my entire life, it's always been like this. It's just for as long as I could remember, it's always been this person's position is outlandish. This person's position is reasonable. Let's put them together because we got to hear both sides. It's sort of the same problem over and over again. But yeah, I think the reason why that's relevant is that they're both preying on the same weakness, and in the same way that these like thumbnails are doing, like the kind of content and the kind of conversation we want to hear is like the most extreme version of the conversation. Like that's what's going to catch our attention. And I feel like it's important that we figure that out and we like have an honest conversation about the reasons why these things are successful. It's not just that they are like nefarious and this guy wants to do the Disney of empathy, but actually he's like the villain. No, it's more that like we are awful when it comes to like what we want to consume. We want to see people get beat up. We want to see the person who has unreasonable views, in our opinion, get destroyed or owned or fill in whatever awful adjective. Those are the things that get the most engagement. And I think we need to like be honest with ourselves about that.
Yeah, I mean, something I've been thinking about is the fact that like Jubilee, in terms of like, did it start this? I'm not willing to say that they like started anything. However, I think what it is like they are not trying to influence culture. They're not trying to shift anything, but they are really good at like meeting people where they are, and that includes the worst people you've ever met in your life. And I think their ability to kind of just market to those people on both sides is actually kind of genius. Like, unfortunately, I mean, maybe fortunately, the thing is, like, Jubilee is, as a media company, knowing how the media landscape looks like us for right now in our industry, they are possibly kind of doing something right. I think the thing I brush up against is, like, for their CEO to still kind of say, like, oh, yeah, we're, like, decreasing polarization. We're trying to combat extremism. It's like, well, I don't know if that goal you set 15 years ago is the same goal you have now. And it's okay to change goals, but I would like you to be a little bit honest about, like, what what does the clip farming of your content actually do? Like, a real question I have, Eamon, is like, from this Mehdi Hasan video, who do you think are like the winners and losers from that video alone?
There's only one winner, and it's got to be Connor. You remember Connor? Connor's the unabashed happy fascist.
Yeah.
Nobody's ever heard of him. I think even online he had like a pseudonym and he was sort of like a nobody.
Right.
Now he's got like a major profile. He started this crowdfunding campaign and he just sort of like created a tribe around him. He found his tribe through this process. And kind of like Dean did, where now he's like this household name in like certain progressive circles. I worry that that's the same with Connor now.
Yeah.
So that genie's out of the bottle.
I do wonder how much they are just beholden to the mechanisms of the internet. Like we all kind of, I mean, any place that survives off attention has to kind of balance like their stated goal with what they need to do to get people to actually click. And I think that's why we're seeing the inflammatory thumbnails and clickbaity headlines and the things that really define people by their tribe, like you said, and really pit them against each other, because that is what we respond to. It is proven to work. And I guess the hope is that I don't think they achieved it in this particular video, but that despite what the thumbnail looks like and what the title is, that by watching it, like you said, Eamon, with the sort of Israelis versus Palestinians, even if the people in the video don't come to a middle ground or have a point of agreement, that it's something that someone watching will see. Yeah. Again, I can't imagine that was the case with the Mehdi Hasan video, but you know, it's a possibility in perhaps the less viral spaces.
Yeah, and you know, I'm thinking about this like Disney of empathy thing a lot, and it just sounds so familiar because I feel like Mark Zuckerberg said the same thing about Facebook and how he's trying to like bring people together. Then we all know how, like with Myanmar, and like it kind of led directly to violence, and it's playing out in India too. I almost wonder if we go back in time, or not. I guess we don't go back that far, but figure out like who was the first person to make like a comment section on like a piece of content. Like, were they also thinking we're gonna bring people together, we're gonna share ideas, and now this is, you know, Disneyland.
They're like that Oppenheimer meme where he's like holding his face. He's like, oh my God, what did I do?
Yeah. It's like how many times we have to learn this lesson? Like, this is just who we are. The internet is a big place, and I feel like humans are not built for that.
Yeah. And we can argue over anything.
Yeah. Let me preach about how awful the internet is on ICYMI.
No, I think that is a unique thing about the internet is we can get into arguments as heated as the Jubilee video argument about things that are very inconsequential. Yeah. And so it's something that people have been joking about since the video came out. And it's something that Candice and we've been talking about in the lead up to this episode, which is what would be our Jubilee video. Like where we are Mehdi, where we put ourselves in the desk in the warehouse. Who are we fighting and what's the cause?
I know. I already know. Okay, so the title's got to be something like, these three journalists, one of them uses ChatGPT. You have to figure out which one it is.
Oh my God, that's a good one. That one's for sure coming.
That's
or
coming
if it's
up.
not, they should pay you something when they do take that idea.
Yeah. I mean, also, if this is the Jubilee video, is it you, Eamon? Are you the one using chat?
The whole goal is that we're supposed to like all pretend like we don't. And then we're supposed to figure out who the secret spy is.
Okay.
Interesting. Not answering the question. We'll wait for the video.
I know. Well, listen, he's playing
Honestly,
the game.
Why doesn't Slate just do that? Let's just do that. We'll be our own Jubilee, and then we'll finally save journalism.
Let's tear this company apart. Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. Wait. Next Slate Plus is me and Candice tearing into each other about something.
Yeah.
Kate, what is your Jubilee video?
Okay. This one's controversial.
Try us.
But I would also be surrounded. Normal People is a bad adaptation of Sally Rooney. The TV show Normal People.
Okay.
The book is so much better and so introspective. And in order to translate it into a TV show, there are so many shots of those two characters just staring out windows in place of that internal dialogue. And it doesn't work. And I thought people were going to panic because I had screeners of it. And then everyone loved it. And I stayed quiet. but I would speak my truth for Jubilee.
Oh, no.
I'm taking off my hat. I'm running. I'm running to the
Yeah,
chair
yeah,
right now. I'm
running to that
pushing away
chair.
every
How
fascist I
else
see.
are you supposed to build tension? Like, people have to just stare off into the distance at some point.
Too much, though. Too much. Okay, Candice, what's yours?
So I would like to be surrounded, and I would like to sit at the table to make the argument, La La Land is a good movie. I love this movie.
Controversial.
Who thinks it's bad?
There are so many people. Here's the thing, right? At first, I was going to say La La Land should have won Best Picture, but I was like, don't do that. Because Moonlight is actually important and good to the canon. However, I just feel like there's a lot of people in my, internet circles who are still pounding the, Ryan Gosling, why are you saving jazz? La La Land, you guys can't even sing. And I'm like, excuse me, you shut down the 105 freeway and you dance on your car and you tell me that didn't make you cry. Made me cry. Anyway.
You know what? I'm an open fascist. Now you just have to argue against that.
Okay, that's the show. Thanks so much to Eamon for joining us on today's show. He has a book out, and you should buy it. It is called Becoming Baba, and it's available wherever you like to buy books. We'll be back in your feed on Wednesday, so definitely subscribe. That way you never miss an episode. Leave us a rating and review in Apple or Spotify, and tell your friends about us. You can follow us on Twitter and now Instagram at ICYMI_pod. And you can always drop us a note at ICYMI@slate.com.
ICYMI is produced by Vic Whitley-Berry, Kate Lindsay, and me, Candice Lim. Daisy Rosario is our senior supervising producer, Mia Lobel is Slate's executive producer of podcasts, and Hillary Fry is Slate's editor-in-chief. See you online.
Or fighting against 20 normal people stands.
This episode is brought to you by FX's Alien Earth, the official podcast. Each week, host Adam Rogers is joined by guests, including the show's creator, cast, and crew, in this exclusive companion podcast. They will explore story elements, deep dive into character motivations, and offer an episode-by-episode behind-the-scenes breakdown of each terrifying chapter in this new series. Search FX's Alien Earth wherever you listen to podcasts.
What is art, really? Art is the Tony Award-winning Broadway comedy starring Bobby Cannavale, James Corden, and Neil Patrick Harris. Three longtime friends whose decades-old bond unravels over one absurdly expensive piece of modern art. It's sharp, stylish, and laugh-out-loud hilarious. Previews begin August 28. Don't miss the show the New York Times calls a very funny comedy of manners. Get tickets now at artonbroadway.com.